Okay, we're going to start. Please join your palms. Solemnly bow. Four great vows. I vow to deliver innumerable sentient beings. I vow to cut off endless vexations. I vow to master limitless approaches to Dharma. I vow to attain supreme Buddhahood. Welcome to you all. Another Monday night class, and Monday night to some of you it's morning on Tuesday. But in any case, we are going to continue on with our discussions about mind. And I'm kind of using the what has been coming onto the Mind Work Forum to kind of reflect what's happening in this class, as I find that a lot of things that are being said in the Mind Work Forum or asked in the Mind Work Forum are very germane to where we're at, and to kind of keep this all together, kind of lace all of the information that you're getting so that you see things in a way in which you understand them a little better. You see how they all fit together. Give me 1 second. There's kind of an idea that if we sit long enough in meditation, that sooner or later something's going to happen. This kind of a sitting will for sure probably give you a flat bottom. But in terms of it, you really need to have right view. I shouldn't say you really need to have it, because you can ease into it, but it will take you substantially more than right view. So what is right view? Right view is understanding how mind works from a perspective of investigating mind with mind. This is not something that's easy for people to understand. And so a lot of times when people listen to this, they go, you know what? I don't understand this. I'm not going to practice that way. I'll just go and do the way that I've been instructed, just to sit and meditate. And it's too hard, too confusing. So, which is all right, but they end up spending a lot more time doing that. I remember there was a story of Master Sheng where this one student had disappeared for a while, and he came back to see Master Sheng, and he said, "Shifu," and he says, "Good to see you." And the master said, "Where have you been?" He goes, "Oh, I've been studying with Master so-and-so. You know, he's really, really good. And his Dharma's good." And he says, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." And he says, "You should go and study with him." And Master Sheng just went, and so the boy disappeared for a while, and then he came back again. And Shifu said, "I thought you were studying with this master." He goes, "What happened to you?" And the boy just kind of went sheepishly. He just went, "Well, you know, I was listening to his Dharma, and I compared it to yours, and I think yours is I'm very comfortable with it." And that was kind of the best he could say about it. But the idea is that we want to go and look for different places to practice. I never object to that with my students, and as long as they maintain right view, I think that it isn't bad to get comparisons of things. But some people go from one master to another, hoping that master is going to give them the magic incantation or touch their head or whatever, and is going to make them become enlightened. But it doesn't work that way. I only wish it would, because then I would have a line halfway across the world with people just waiting for me to touch them on the head. I wouldn't even get in that line. But the thing is that it doesn't work that way. There's nothing in the words, no magic in the words, nothing that is there that is truly a secret. When I talk about the esoteric and the secret meaning, it is only secret because we do not understand it. And so it's a secret to us. But once one has a little peek of it, a little realization, you want to share that with everybody. You don't want to keep it a secret. Why would you want to keep it a secret? You want to share that with everybody. When I was practicing Qigong, there were times when a master would do something, and that's what masters would do all the time. But in any case, they would do something and people go, wow, that was pretty good. But most of the time they wouldn't share the innermost secrets. They would only keep it for their closed door students. And even those would still have to struggle to get it. But Chan is different. Chan, whatever I have, whatever my realizations are, I willingly share them with you. Not only do I willingly share them with you, but my interest is for you to exceed me, to stand on my shoulders, and to go into even more profound understanding so that you can benefit other people. It is in this way, yet we cannot do that with words. I can only demonstrate to you how to practice, but then you have to practice it in your way. There was a story of the Buddha, and he was giving a sermon in the Jeddah Grove, and there was this one man that would come and watch him all the time. Sometimes you get these people kind of linger in the back, and they're kind of looking to try to see what's going on. And he'd be there listening to the master and seeing the different people there. And finally, once he came to him after a class or a lecture, and he asked the Buddha and said, I've been coming to your classes regularly, and I've watched your students, and to see how they practice. So already, he's coming from this more aloof way, not saying I am your student, but I'm watching your students. And so he's trying to put himself kind of up on and apart with the Buddha. It is very funny because the first time I went to see Shifu, I was thinking in my head, because I was very accomplished in Qigong. And I thought, well, I can talk to Shifu like a brother. I can talk to him on the same level when I see him. And it was very, very funny because as soon as I saw him, I had this feeling like, I'm not worthy. This is a great man. Right from the very beginning, just looking into his eyes, I saw, wow, this incredible amount of shame that I had, that I even deemed to compare myself with such a great master. And I think he kind of felt that and looked at that, but he had that kind of an ability and what I'd call nobility in him, a very humble noble. And truly to the word noble, not noble by birth, but intrinsically noble. And so here we go back to the story, because that kind of puts it in perspective. Mark, you had a question?
Yeah, I'm curious how you discovered Shifu. How did you come across him?
I'll talk about that one time. It's actually very incredible, but maybe in the questions I will explain it. Okay, it's actually pretty interesting. Okay, back to the story. So the story is one in where this man comes up and says, "I see your students, and they all listen to you very carefully, but some of them seem to be progressing better than others. Others, they listen to you, but they don't seem to have that much of a change. So if you are so wise, then why can't they all equally be affected by your words? So hang in there, because this is the story. This is what Chan's all about. And this is what Buddhism is all about, not just Chan. And so the Buddha said, my dear man, from your accent, you're not from this area. Where are you from? And he said, oh, I'm from such a province. And he says, oh, that's very far. And he said, can you tell me how you get there? And he said, oh, you would have to follow the northern pass, and then go through, there's different plains. And then after those plains by this river, you follow the river, and then you will come to my city. And so Shifu said, this is a very long way. And he says, yeah, it's a very long way. And he said, suppose that I just simply wish myself to be in your city. Could I do that? And the man says, you're joking. Of course you could not. You have to make the path and go there yourself. You cannot just simply appear in my town. What kind of a question is that? And the Buddha said, precisely. What kind of a question did you present to me? It is in this way that I present the Dharma to you. I present the Dharma. Everything that I present to you is the path. Every breath that you take is the path. Every thought that you make is the path. Sounds like a good beginning of a song. But in any case, maybe I'm plagiarizing. Sorry, Sheng. But in any case, it's something that we have to see in this way, that you can't just simply come to the class and then think like, oh, all of a sudden you become enlightened or have a realization. You can have a realization, and I've had people have realizations, but it's because they're sincerely listening and processing what I'm saying. You can see it. I can see it even when I'm talking to people. You know how people will react to what I'm saying. And so I'm very happy when people have that kind of a look in their eyes, that a very deep look there. But it is something that you have to work on. You have to really try hard to practice. It is not just simply that I say the things and there's some magic combination that will get you. You may get an epiphany from what I'm been talking about, just simply because of the fact that you're working on it, or you've been reading something and all of a sudden the two merge together. That's practice. But it's something that is very rare that you'd be able to do that. Now, some people, because of their deep roots, simply listening to a sutra such as Wei Ning, was able to come and have a realization hearing the Diamond Sutra, or just a portion of the Diamond Sutra for the first time. But his roots were very deep. I would wish we had such deep karmic roots, but what we do have is we do have the nobility of Master Sheng. And Master Sheng's nobility was the Buddha mind. We do have that. We just have to draw it out. How do we draw it out? Is from the practice, from studying sincerely, from devotion. I don't leave that out, and from practice moment to moment. So I'd like to read this question that one of the people posted on the Mind Work group, and it's saying, reflecting on my previous post, an acceptable substitute for emptiness in the Heart Sutra could be the term illusion. Form, sensation, perception, volition, consciousness are not other than illusion. It's interesting to read the Heart Sutra that way, though then it may seem to lack the compassion aspect. Aha. That's also implied with sunyata. It is understood as interbeing or co-arising. Does that make sense? So this is a practitioner. This is somebody that is working on it, not just simply accepting and reading the Heart Sutra, but wanting to uncover something, wanting to go to the profound and perhaps beyond to the esoteric understanding. But it is not so easy, but they're smart enough to do a price check to see if what they have is really quality or is it just a cheap knockoff. And so that's important. That's why I put the mind work group there so people can ask questions. One of the things that it seems that there's a dearth of, that's an attorney word for lack of something, like a total lack of, is accessibility to well-known advisors and to ask questions. And some well-known advisors or so-called well-known advisors will go, practice some more or whatever, but they don't offer guidance or direction. I cannot practice for you, but I can tell you what is lacking in your practice or what is the strength of your practice. And I see things in this way. Yesterday, I complimented Robert. I think I saw him here somewhere. There he is. Because he asked questions. Sometimes his questions are off, but it doesn't shame him, nor should it, to ask the questions. And each time that he's corrected, he gets better with that. And so he doesn't fear the master stick, nor does Michael. So all the more so for all of you, because they ask the questions that you are afraid to ask. They're afraid to ask because it might make you look stupid. It doesn't make you look stupid. Not asking questions makes you look stupid. If you're lost and you see somebody walking by and they look like they know where they're going, wouldn't you ask them for directions? Or you'd go, I don't want to ask them for directions. Why? Your partner's going, why? Your husband, wife, because it would make me look stupid. I'd rather wander around in these woods. And you go, that doesn't make any sense at all. But we do that. But that's why the mind work group is set up, is to ask questions. And so when the people, they ask the questions, they're asking them for you. It's important that we see that. And their questions are often your questions, unless you could answer them. Sometimes people answer them correctly. Sometimes people answer them incorrectly, but that's okay too. Those people will get a whack as well, but that's good for them because it helps them to readjust what the focus is in terms of mind, and that's important. So here, where this person is asking the question and saying about this, that everything is an illusion, does that fit? We talk about things are an illusion, a dream. So does it fit that form, sensation, perception, volition, and consciousness are an illusion? Are they an illusion or not? Let's start with that. What do you think? And everybody's now sinking down like as if they're submarines. Speaking of submarines, they going deeper and deeper down. They only have their little scope looking. Is he still looking? Yeah, he is. Go back down again. What do you think? does illusion fit here? Anybody want to venture a guess? Guesstimate. Yes, Mark, go ahead. I think she's trying. There you go.
It's an illusion if it's perceived as separate from oneself, meaning everything is one or everything is mine.
Is that a one? Is that a self?
I want to respond. What self?
I'm sorry?
What self?
What self? You said it was the self.
I framed it in the context. It's an illusion if perceived as separate, whereas everything is mind.
And so does that take it out of the category of being an illusion?
Yes and no.
Yes and no. And you see that the thing is here, this discussion with him is one that there isn't necessarily a right or wrong. It is just turning that diamond and looking at it from different points of view. So what do you think that Nagarjuna would say about this? This is where we lace all the training together. Anybody venture a guess, Santa?
He would say the tetralemma.
And I was just looking for the two truths. You added two more bonus ones. Okay, go ahead.
It is not an illusion. It is not an illusion. It's neither an illusion nor is it not an illusion.
It's both an illusion.
Yes.
And it's essentially, and she's just expanding on what Mark was saying with this. And so then how do we fit the two truths into that? Let's see if we can get a two truths person. Where's a Madhyamika practitioner here? Nobody? The two truths are apparent reality and absolute reality. People will say, Gilbert, you're teaching Madhyamika. In some places I'll say Madhyamaka. I know Senta, but I read it Madhyamika as well. That's how Shifu taught me, so I use that word, Madhyamika. So, and he's saying, that's not true. That's precisely Chan. Where do you think Chan got all this from? And made it up? No. All of this poured in Madhyamika school, the Yogacara school, the Abhidharma school, all these different schools poured into Chan. You cannot separate them. You can say, oh, he's teaching something else. No, it's all Chan. It's all blended in so wonderfully. But it helps us understand the Heart Sutra. It helps us understand it in the way that there is this apparent reality, that it's real, but it's real in the sense that, and I'm going to start off with where Mark was, but he's not quite as eloquent in terms of explaining this. But his heart was there. And what Senta was saying is that this apparent reality is real, but we cannot, it's not the real of samsaric reality. In samsaric reality, I would taste shadofu, stinky tofu, and I go, oh, that tastes real bad. Is that true? Does it taste real bad? How many of you like stinky tofu? Raise your hand. There you go, you see. So people like stinky tofu. So it can't be real bad, right? So it's not this kind of a reality. It's not the kind of reality where you have something and you say, there's a reality to it. That's real mayonnaise, as opposed to what? These are all conditional. But what Nagarjuna's pointing to is very interesting. He's pointing to a reality outside of samsara, outside of conception, outside of what you perceive to be your own consciousness and your own existence. That cannot define reality, true reality. Reality in the sense that, does Gilbert like tofu? No. Well, I like tofu. I don't know. I'm kind of sneaking up on stinky tofu now. So stay tuned, maybe in 5 years. And so, but that's not true reality, because there's going to be a time when I'm going to eat stinky tofu. And I may even eat a durian. So these are things actually that I'm stealing that from Thich Nhat Hanh, which said that if he ate a durian, he would become enlightened. So it's not just me, but in any case, it's something that we have to begin to look at, this idea of reality. This is really important. Really, see, there's the word really, right? Now, is this really that I'm saying really the really of samsara, or the really of mind? In the words, it's samsaric, but in its purpose, it's mind. It is where apparent reality and absolute reality merge and mark, they're not even one. They're just thus. But that only happens in mind. And when we begin to look into mind, we see that there is this reality. What is the reality? What did the first thing that the Buddha taught? Anybody know? What was the first thing that he taught? Nobody know that. Good. David's going to save us, because if not, I'm going to start going back to the ABCs next week. Yes, David.
Pratika Samipata.
Yeah. The law of dependent origination, how things work, how everything is interconnected, which is what this person was saying. I think he was saying is understood as interbeing, but it's interbeing, but not really a being. This use of this particular word can be a trap. So this idea is the very first thing that the Buddha taught was pratika samappada. That's a truth. That is thusness. That is why the sutras say pratika samappada is the Buddha mind. It's hard for us to understand something like that. It's not easy for us to comprehend that, because we look at pratika samappada and say there's this movement or functioning there, but who is moving it? Is it the Buddha that is moving it? What do you think? Is it the Buddha that moves it? Come on, this is a work class today. Yes, Michael, take a crack, and then we'll go to Sam.
I think it's ignorance that moves it. It's the suffering, in a sense, which moves it, and the belief, the wrong view, which moves it.
Very interesting. Where does this ignorance come from?
from attachment and from falling asleep and falling into the trap of putting boundaries where there are none, so to generate a self.
And in your response, all right, you submitted your paper to me, right? And I'll tell you, take your paper home and make corrections on it right now. What corrections could you see you could make? I'm going to keep banging on this until it will be there. Can anybody confess his sin? That's an ancient reference of saying if somebody has something not quite right.
Jan, did you want to say what your answer was that you typed in?
Was that you're referring to? Oh, Jan, and then Sam was still out there too. Go ahead, Jan.
Yeah, I said mind. Mind moves it.
Mind moves it, or are you moving the mind? But if you are moving the mind, then who are you?
No, you.
There's no you, so
Just mind.
You cannot move it. So, Michael, can you take anything from what she said and what I said to her and correct what you said?
Well, there's is this mind? Is this still part of mind? So, in a sense, it's as parts of mind falling asleep. I don't know how to better represent it, because otherwise you would introduce a self which is already even wronger. So it's interesting to see how this starts out. It's
okay. Let's try this. I'm still cognizant you're hanging out there, Sam and Mark. I'm going to go to Sentha. I'm going to try to see if we can. I'm working on her as well. How would you define what Michael just said?
Well, if Patitya Samutpada is moved by ignorance, then what about Buddha activity?
What about it? What is that then?
The dualism.
No. Here, samsara, it's dualism.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what you mean by that.
The two truths.
The two truths. But even with the two truths, Pratitya Samutpada is not just relative.
It's not just what?
Relative.
It's not relative.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. That's why it's the two truths.
Mm-hmm.
It's not relative on the samsara. Michael is answering from the samsara and trying to define it. Nagarjuna said, let's not talk about this. It's two truths. There's apparent reality. It's inseparable, which is what he was saying. Inseparable from the mind ground, from the Dharmakaya, which is the absolute. The Yogacaran school, Tiantai school talk about noumenon and phenomena, the numerator and the denominator for those math people. What I'm doing is answering Michael's question. But you just have to hang in there with me, be patient with me in terms of this. Go ahead, come back. Sentha.
So I want to explore what Michael just said. So if there were no ignorance at all, would there be a need for mind to move at all? Because the Buddhas used the vexations of sentient beings to perform Buddha activities. So if there were no ignorance at all, then what, then what is to arise depending on what? So I'm playing devil's advocate.
You're playing loosey-goosey like a politician. You don't want to take a position on it. You're just
No. I mean,
Posing.
I want, it's very useful to say if ignorance is what is, Michael is positing that ignorance is what moves mind. Is that what you're saying, Michael?
I would say the attachment, yeah, which is related to ignorance. Yeah.
Right. So if ignorance is what is moving mind, it moves mind to the extent that there's an accumulation of karma. So Frank was talking about karma, moving mind. So the accumulation of karma comes from ignorance, and pratitya samutpada. It was, if this happens, then that happens. That cycle just continues until there is no ignorance at all. Until there is ignorance, then there's a cause for both Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to deliver sentient beings.
is there suffering?
Until there's ignorance, there's suffering.
But the Heart Sutra says there's no suffering.
Suffering is experienced by the people who are ignorant.
But that is a message from samsara, not from the Buddha mind perception. That's why the Heart Sutra is written in a way to reflect Buddha mind, not samsara. It's written there to correct the understanding of the Four Noble Truths as being understood as that there is suffering, cause of suffering, cessation suffering, and a path. And it is a progression of Buddhist thought saying those things cannot exist. They are not real. That's why the Abhidharma from the Theravadan Abhidharma collapses, because those things are not real. They cannot be real. They cannot truly be real because they are non-existent. And that was driven home by the Diamond Sutra, and the Diamond Sutra stating that that all those things are just an illusion, a phantasm, a dream. So they in themselves cannot serve as a foundation for anything. So we have to look at it from reading the Heart Sutra in a way in which it is read from the Buddha mind. We have to turn the mind's eye inward and look at it, and then it makes sense. It really makes sense. It's like, holy crud, you have this telescope, and you're looking and you're going, wow, it's so far. And then you turn around and go, wow, I can just touch everything. And everything can touch me, because all of a sudden you reversed it and you're able to see it. And it's because you have this, I'll call it a global perspective. And it shouldn't even be global, or even universal is too small. The universe is about that big in mind. But you have this perspective from a perception that we do not understand. We cannot understand that perception. So before I go further, let me go to Sam. And sorry, Sam, I didn't allow you to say anything, but go ahead now. You still remember the question?
I believe, to go back, I believe the question I was asking to answer was, does the Buddha, to rephrase or to phrase it correctly, was like does the Buddha move it, is how you phrased it, I believe? Okay. What came to my mind first was Michael and I, at our Chan workshop, I went for the first time 2 weeks ago. We were discussing the 5 skandhas or skandhas. My pronunciation's awful, I apologize. But we something he asked us was, we were going around the table and we were talking. He said that consciousness arises out of something, and that changed my framework a little bit. So what came to mind was that it all comes from mind. So interchangeably, my answer to that question would be to just change the word Buddha to mind, and it is the mind that which is moving. I suppose that's the best way I could phrase it right now.
Yeah. And if the mind moved, exactly where, in what locale would it move to?
I would describe that maybe as non-locally.
Non-locally.
In the sense of, like, if you're asking for a locale or like a location of mind, can you really say mind is anywhere, in a sense, if I'm understanding correctly?
I think you and Manjushri would get along very well. So you're doing very well for your first shot at this. So keep going. You have deep roots, so you can practice well. Now that you say that, then watch the ego.
Oh, right there, I felt it flare up. So thanks for that.
Yeah, it's just encouragement, and it's just something that I guess there's a saying, from the mouths of babes, but anybody can do this. And what you don't realize is, just don't look down right now, because you really climbed up pretty high. And if you look down, you're just going to go like, wow, but that's all right. That's okay. I mean, Robert, I call him the parrot. He always thinks he can fly. And he gets up so high, like way up there, and then shoo, and he crashes and burns, but he comes back again and does it again. And that's wonderful about him. So he kind of actually turns into a phoenix at some point. I just don't want him to keep getting accustomed to being a phoenix and coming back lifetime after lifetime as a phoenix. So in any case, Mark, you had a question.
Not a question. So the last question here, and you asked which locale, I was thinking everywhere. Mine is everywhere. And then ignorance is a cause or a condition. So mind moves. Causes and conditions move mind.
Can an acorn move a giant boulder?
It's all in the mind. So yes.
If you're speaking of mind, of course, and even in actuality, an acorn can grow into a mighty oak tree. Or if you've ever seen a Bodhi tree, the roots can upend anything. And so the idea, again, here is not that there's a secret answer to any of what we're talking about. It is a process of practice. And that's what I want to emphasize today, is that this is a process. It's not just simply coming to the class and listening, but you process this and you work on it, and you take it into your everyday life. It is not just simply sitting on a cushion and hoping that you have some kind of a wonderful sitting and a great lunch. My dad used to always tell me, you don't go to school to eat your lunch. And that was one of the wisest things he ever told me, was you don't go to school to eat your lunch. You just put the food in, like they say, it'll prevent this body from withering away. Although I do include a donut in the basic food groups, but in any case, the thing is that when we go to retreat, to work. Not just simply sit there, and it's not a parking lot. Don't ever go to a retreat and think it's a parking lot. No. And then just get up and go, oh, okay. And you just do. You carry your practice onto the cushion and off of the cushion and home with you. And when you're going to a retreat, you take that practice with you. The moment you leave the door, you should already have that practice there. Arriving at the Chan Hall, the practice is already there. You practice it all the way. This is what they say is the shortcut. And so the idea is that when you have a shortcut, that means that you have to work on it. It's not free in terms of that, but it's just understanding how mind works. So when we sit on the cushion, everything is perfectly in its place. What's so wonderful about the practice when you do it this way, you don't get frustrated from having extraneous thoughts. Who put those thoughts there in your mind? Who put the thoughts in your mind? Is it that pesky self? The one that we want to get rid of and it's like some bad friend of yours that keeps hanging on to you and you go, get away from me, get away from me. You smell, or you're too loud, or whatever it is, you know. Is it that one? Who's producing these thoughts? Does anybody know? David?
Mind?
Your mind or my mind?
Just mind?
Just mind. That's it. You see? So good for David. Sometimes you're the bug, sometimes you're the windshield. So this
Well,
time,
I got a bug question to ask.
I know you do that. I was hoping that you wouldn't, but go ahead.
Okay, I won't ask. No,
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
well, I was just wondering if in absolute reality and not samsara, does mind move?
What do you think?
I would say no.
What moves? Be careful. Be careful with your answer here. What moves then? Be careful. Think before you answer. Process it through. What moves?
Then I'm wrong. Mind?
Mind? Does mind move? Then you told me mind doesn't move. But your answer was going to show a weakness in your argument.
Oh, I don't
We'll
think I have
come
much
back
of an
to you.
argument to start anyways.
It's okay. We'll come back to you. And again, you know, I'm very happy for people asking the questions, and I'm not trying to make you look silly or anything. I'm all of these are directed towards the investigation of mind. Tori.
Okay, I got a really stupid question. When I say stupid, it's not necessarily question is stupid, but I have heard in Chinese that you do not ask this question, but I'm still going to ask. So
Oh.
if we're talking about Buddha nature, right, and that's mind as well, right? So everything is mind. So how did it go from Buddha nature to moving? What happened? What went wrong? Wrong. What went wrong there? That's a terrible question, I know.
No, it's a great question. It's just one of those like who created God questions.
Yes, that kind of question.
And
Yeah.
and so that's not that's not something that we can answer as to when it started. Like are you talking about the Roman calendar, the Gregorian calendar, the Mayan calendar, the Jewish calendar? Which one do we work on it and go, at this precise, oh, wait a minute, that they weren't around at that time. So we don't know when or how it was done. All we know is how it formed, but not what was there before. And if you can solve that, then the astrophysicists would be so happy to talk to you, because they're still trying to figure that out themselves as to how this, and they have great debates as to how many times this world is blown up and reformed and whatever. So it is very amazing. But the thing is that it isn't bad to look at questions like that. We shouldn't shun them, simply because we don't know the answer. Once the Dalai Lama was asked, what's it like to die? And he said, I don't know, I haven't died yet. And it was just a very honest answer to it, because he doesn't know what it's like. And the thing is we give these honest answers, and we don't try to make them up. That's not, something that we're able to respond to it in the right way. It's okay to ask the question, though. It's a legitimate question, but it's not one that's answerable, because we weren't there. We're not that old to be there. I'm almost getting that old, but I don't remember that. I think I remember the formation of the stars, but not going all that way back. So in any case, it's not a bad question, because it goes to the idea of existence, and it kind of points to the profoundness. There's a profoundness to that question, even though it's kind of innocent and silly and stupid, whatever you want to do it. It's a legitimate question. And it's one that we should not ignore, and we should ask it. So I do give you credit for asking the question, because it's one where you look at it and go like, if I could answer that, then, you could answer any question. Perhaps the Buddha knows. I don't know that. But the next time you see the Buddha, ask him, her, him, thing, no thing. Okay.
Thank you, Ken.
All right. Let's see. I got 5 minutes, and I haven't even gotten to my lecture today. So we could blame it on the one that posted the question. But my lecture was actually going to talk about that question. Let me see if there's anything else there. I wanted to point out one thing about the question. The question is mind work. This is what mind work is. Looking at something, not taking it as a given, and processing it and asking questions and trying to work it, and not being afraid to ask questions, not be afraid to being wrong. Sometimes we should be afraid of being right, in the sense that we know everything. That's what we were talking about last week, the 50 demonic skandha states. Those are showing things where we take certain levels of experiences, higher and higher levels of experiences, and we put them down. It doesn't matter. And the sum total of those 50 demonic states in the Shurangama Sutra is not because they're demonic, but they're demonic in the sense that it takes you away from the practice and drives you further into samsara. It's like you're almost there, and then boom, you go. There is no second place here. There isn't a participation trophy that you get. You either are in or out. Once you're out, you can be in and out, but you cannot be there. And well, it kind of defies description, but it's something that we have to be clear about in the mind. But it is a process that we do. Everything that we read, every time you read a sutra, please, please, please don't turn the page. Understand what you read. Try to feel it. There's no incentive of getting to the end of the sutra and going, oh, now what shall I read? You're not reading a novel. Every single page, if you don't believe me, take a sutra, any sutra, just open it up randomly to a page, except maybe the Huayan Jing for the first 100 pages of the Buddha names. But if you take any sutra and just open it up randomly and read it, you'll be surprised how profound it is, how incredibly profound it is just by reading it. And you're just going to go, wow. Because you're looking just simply at the statement that's stated there. And it's incredible. But what people do is they read it, and then they just do it. And some people read it as a practice, but they never penetrate it. So they're just reading basic cable. They're not going to the premium channels or the secret channels. They're just reading it. But what I'm telling you is, instead of reading it front to back, just open it up somewhere and see if I'm not right, that you're going to look at it and you're going to go like, wow, this is incredible. Okay, so let me see. And again, what I was mentioning here is that what he was, this person that was asking the question, we don't just accept a concept or a notion of emptiness and say, oh, this is what emptiness is. No, there is a topic that I haven't really talked about directly that much, and that's emptiness. And there's a reason, because in order to talk about emptiness, I could spend a year on it and just barely touch the surface of it. And I wouldn't want to cheapen the subject by spending, 5 classes talking about emptiness. It's that deep. And on the other hand, it's just a snap of the fingers. And I had mentioned in my response to this person on the Mind Work forum is that don't call me a teacher. I don't have anything to teach. You practice with me until you realize I don't have anything to teach. There's nothing to be taught to a dream teaching a dream about a dream. That's what's happening. We have to approach the practice from this viewpoint. That viewpoint is right view. And so we want to be able to practice in a way in which we are very clear about what we're doing. If you think that there's something that I will say that you can tell other people, that's fine. But just understand that once you open your mouth, you've moved away from it. But nevertheless, we still have to do that. We still have to read. We still have to listen. But we have to listen with right view to challenge the very hollowed halls of our Chan Hall and everywhere else to say, is this real? Or how is it real? And what is this reality without a falseness to it? Those are Nagarjuna's 2 truths. they fall outside the conceptual workings of the person that was asking the questions about whether we'd say form is nothing but an illusion all the way up to consciousness is an illusion. We're still missing something there. Sorry, I'm going to go into overtime. This is like the World Cup. We have like 9 penalty minutes still left, so the game's not over yet. But it's important because I wanted to get to this, and you can look at mind work and see my full response there, which I think is worthy and for you to read. But it is something that when we look at this, we understand, and the sutras talk about projections. So whatever this is, we say that there's an illusion, but to say illusion belies what is the true reality. That is that illusion. If all is illusion, it still must appear somewhere. And that is in the Dharmakaya. And if it is an illusion, we have to understand that there is a projection there. The projection appears because of causes and conditions never fail. Pratika Samappada. That works there. But we get to the question of, I keep saying, I should say who it is because I'm just about ready to say it every single time. Though then it may seem to lack compassion. Where does this compassion come from? The compassion comes from the fact that all of these things that are appearing are projections of mind onto mind. What we don't understand is, and this is clearly what's missing in this. Let's say this was a home theater system and you got a big screen TV. I think, aren't they all big screen TVs these days? But anyway, so you have a screen and you have the images appearing on the screen, which are an illusion, right? Otherwise, you'd take it back to Best Buy and say, what happened? Well, all it has is just a picture of a really beautiful 8K flower on it, but it doesn't do anything else. Something's wrong. Yeah, you're right. It shouldn't do that. It's not a slideshow. So it's moving, or is it moving? And exactly where, if you were going to take a travel log, you're on YouTube, and you're taking a travel log, I'm going to go to Singapore. I just recently saw one on Singapore, and their fountains and everything else and beautiful stuff. Did I go to Singapore? No, I never left my living room. So you cannot say that the images on the screen move, do they? No. So what is moving? But something very, very important. What do you need in a home theater system? The basic root of a home theater system. What do you need when you put it all down? What is the thing that you need? Anybody? Let's see how many. Sam.
You need a projector. If you want to watch movies in a home theater, you could have the screen, you could have your couches, your popcorn, you could have everything that would make up a home theater, but without the projector to project the film, you would not, it wouldn't be a home theater. It would just be a living room or a, what do you call those? Man caves, woman caves.
So what is a projector? By the way, he's wrong, but I'll accept his partial credit. Okay, what is a projector?
A projector is, oh, okay, so a projector is projecting the film. So it's not the projector, but
no, there's
film.
a projector there. I'll give you a hint. The projector is mine.
Okay.
But before any of this, what do you need to drive the system? It's very, very important. Tori,
Power? No.
Tori, go ahead.
One moment. If you could raise your hand, it's easy for me to find you. Otherwise, I have to hunt and find your there. Okay.
Okay, Tori.
Okay, one moment. Let me find. Tori. There. Okay, give me a moment.
Well, we got Jan, so let's work with Jan. Sorry, we'll take. Oh, there you go. Go ahead.
Yeah, you need electricity.
I want to.
Electricity. And Jan, what did you say?
I want to see attachment.
No, attachment. That would be like a Blu-ray disc player or something else, or a receiver or satellite speakers. But you don't need attachments. You need what Tori said, and you need what Sam was saying: power. It won't work without the power.
I see.
Never underestimate the power of the mind. Everything is driven by the mind. Everything that appears, electricity, atomic energy, you name it, whatever power that gets you up off of your chair, to go to the kitchen to eat a donut, it takes power. It's the power of the mind. Never underestimate that. We don't go, well, what's this power? The mind has the power. Everything created, including samsaric power, is created by the mind. Don't underestimate that. That power is way beyond the power of samsara. We never think about that. But think about that. Everything that generates power, every sentient being generates power, right? Every sentient being is created by the mind. We have to learn how to harness the power of the mind. How do we do this? Here's my cheap plug for the Gateless Meditation Center in Virginia, and they're starting to do a fundraiser to build the Chan Hall, or to let's say furnish the Chan Hall. The Chan Hall's being built already, but to furnish it. And the power of the mind and the power of the heart over the last 2 days has been incredible, because people have donated great amounts of money. And either that or you guys are filthy rich, but great amounts of money, and to do this, and that's the power of the mind, the power of the heart. Michael, that's where you'll find compassion. That's what drives that compassion. That's the compassion that's there, of looking at it and seeing it and having it function in samsara. It is just in this way. So we see things. And so for anybody who's interested, Sue, what is your plug-in for people if they want to donate? This has turned into a telethon, sorry.
Oh, I don't know. Should I put it in my work?
You can put it in the chat. Just go look for it while we're still doing it, and then put it in the chat, and then Santa will pull it up or whatever, okay?
Okay. Santa is in the group. Just she's been silent.
Well, just show how they can donate so that people may want to donate. you know.
Senda, you know the message I post after the photo, but many of us here, I do not have your Line's account, like Ian. I cannot find his account.
But that's why I wanted you to do this.
Yeah.
I'm not online, Sue, anymore. I don't have it installed.
So that's why you were silent.
Yeah.
So actually, how do I do this?
You could just put it in the chat here. I've allowed you to. I've allowed everybody to message everybody.
Then how do I do that?
Just to a chat.
Maybe Jane can do it for me. Jane, can you pull my message, the one that the longer message next to the picture, and maybe you can post at least one picture for people to see.
Yeah, that's fine. And so the only reason I raise that is because this is the power of the mind, the power of compassion. This is how we demonstrate that. If we don't demonstrate it here, then what good is it? You know? So anyway.
By the way, Gilbert, I want to share with you.
Yes.
You know, in 24 hours, we have raised 50% of the target.
That's great. And that's
target amount is 25,000.
Yeah.
So
and this is what I was saying is the power of the mind, where people were given actually some big chunks of money, but you can donate whatever. You don't have to donate. Okay. This is something that you either feel it or you don't feel it, but it's a worthy cause if ever there was one, because this is a place where you're putting money in, where people are going to go to choose the Buddha and create a bit of Pure Land on this world, which definitely needs it. So in any case,
can I share just one more thing?
All right, go ahead.
Very quickly. Guoyan Faster spent lots of time trying to persuade me to do something, a better material, so people can sit in the Chang Hall more comfortably and better for their health. So he's been trying to say, put the pine wood or cedar wood interior instead of drywall, this kind of stuff. But he finally convinced me after, many messages to me. So, but that's cost maybe another 10, 15,000 to finish up interior. But I think will be probably good choice, good decision to finish a better interior. Thank you.
All right. Very good. And I think it will fit with that. And so when it's built, which will be by next year, you're all invited to come to my retreat. I will be maybe second, third, fourth there for the honorary third opening of the place. But in any case, you're welcome to come and as my regular students. And if those of you who have gone to this last one, you realize how special it was. It's just an incredible place to be with people of like kind and like practice. I didn't have to push anybody into the Chan Hall. People were serious about practicing, and it's kind of a magical thing. I want everybody to be able to share that. Okay.
Well, Gilbert, you're not second, third in line. You're still always first in line.
I was thinking today that when I go to Chan Hall and the first time I go there, I'm going to enter backwards, walk backwards, because then I will be last but first. Sorry.
But you do have to enter from the back instead.
I don't think you understand.
Two front door and two side door, but
Yeah.
Anyway, it's beautiful structure. Okay, did we post a picture here?
Yeah, they'll post it on there. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
I think I'm going to continue on next week because it's still important. And I really didn't get to the lecture, but I got to the heart of the lecture, which is most important. So I think that this is a good example of an exchange with a well-known advisor and students to test them, to stick the fork in and see how good it was. So in any case, are there any questions? Jane couldn't do it, by the way, Sue. So yep. Yes, Mark.
One moment, I'm trying to find Mark.
If we have time and you don't mind, I'd like to hear how you came across Shifu.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
If we don't have time, that's okay.
All right. It's a long story, but there's still some of you here. How many of you have heard the story before? Just raise your hand. I'm just kind of curious. So some of you haven't. It's very an interesting story. During the time period, I was practicing Qigong, and very high level Qigong, to the extent that one Qigong master, a very famous Qigong master from China, actually made me his heir, and which was unusual because I was a Westerner, but he was very, very popular in China. I know because I went with him, and everywhere we went, he was like treated like a rock star. And so, but something still was missing with him, and I wasn't really sure what it was. But during the time period when I was studying with him, I'd run into Qigong masters coming out of China quite regularly, and like maybe once a week. And so when they got to LA, people would say, "Have you met Gilbert yet?" And they go, "Who's Gilbert?" And they go, "Well, you'll find out. Just go and talk to him." And so they would come to my house, or I would go somewhere and I would share with them, my skill set. And so they were very surprised at what I could do. Qigong is something that is extremely powerful. I mean, if you understand how to do it, it's not like YMCA or park Qigong. It is pretty deep, pretty powerful, and to the extent I'll give you one, and this is not a lie. Somebody came into my class once. I didn't even know what I was teaching, and it was in the college. And I went, "Oh, you have a limp," and they said, "Yes, I've had it all my life." I said, "Your legs is longer than the other," and they said, "Yes." And so it wasn't a hip problem. It was one leg was actually longer than the other. And I just said, "Oh, I can fix that." And they go, "You can?" And I go, "Yeah." And so then I just put him on a table and lengthened his leg. And then he stood up and walked out correctly. And that's Qigong, has that kind of power like that. But it's all limited to samsara. So I was looking for something else, but I didn't know what I was looking for. But every Qigong master that I ran into, I would ask them, "Why you practice?" And they would wait for a long time. And finally, they realized they had to say something. So they gave what I call a Miss Universe answer. "Oh, for the benefit of all being and everything else." And I would just go, "Baloney, I know that what they said was not sincere." So I was studying with this one master, and he was not the person I was looking for, and he knew it, and I knew it. And even when I was with him, he said, "I'm not the person you're looking for." And I said, "I know you're not." And I didn't like his Qigong because he used allies like celestial beings or something from a different entities that would come and give him the power to do the things. And the Qigong I did was clean Qigong, which was just getting the information from the universe itself. Little mini primer on high level Qigong. So there's shortcuts you can do, such as using your master's chi or to use some kind of extraneous ones. So I didn't like his qigong. It wasn't clean. And so I was thinking I was going to leave, and what he was teaching was so basic. To me, I had no interest in what he was teaching. But at that time, I had heard that I came home from work, and my wife at that time, she had told me that there was this master coming to UCLA to teach, which is about 60 miles away from where we live. And she says, when is he going to teach? He goes, like right now, like he's going to teach at this point. And I looked at the clock and go, I think we can make it, and so let's go see him. So when we got there, it was at UCLA in this big auditorium, a really, really big auditorium. And we got there right before he talked. And when we got there, and it was Master Sheng. And when we got there, there were no seats. People actually like kind of lingering in the aisles and looking for seats because it was totally packed, except for 2 seats right in front of him, directly in front of him from across this narrow desk. So I said, hey, there's 2 seats up front. And like, imposters, we came and we just sat in the seats in front of him, and he just smiled at us. And I smiled at him. I was sitting directly in front of him where I could touch him. And I just, then he started talking, and I just closed my eyes. And I was listening to him. And the whole time I was just saying, this is what I was looking for. He's talking so simple, but the wisdom was incredible. I was so enthralled. I just kept my eyes closed and just was listening to what he said, and just every once in a while just nodding to what he said. And it was just a regular public lecture, nothing deep, no Madhyamika, Nagarjuna, no nothing. It was just matter of fact, ordinary, common sense, but with this deep wisdom to it. And what happened earlier that day when he flew in was that when he arrived, he told the leader from the LA group of Dharma Drum that he was looking for a Western attorney, and that for them to go out and find this attorney. And the person says, I don't even know any Westerners, much less a Western attorney. How am I going to find anybody? He says, just go out, you'll find them. And they go, that's impossible. How could I do that? I don't have any Western friends. And so then after the lecture was finished, I opened my eyes, and Shifu, he just nodded like that to me. I didn't say a word to him. And we were lucky just to get out of there, because there was this crush of people coming towards the front of the stage to talk to him. But I didn't say one word to him, neither did my wife, and we left. But on the way home, I was saying, I'm going to follow this master. This is what I was looking for. Everything that he said rang so true to me. And so then I was going to go to a class on a Friday night with this other master, Master Lu. He's a very famous master. Actually, I saw him later on the Discovery Channel curing somebody from cancer, but that's a different story. But in any case, and Shifu never got, I'm going ahead of the story. So in any case, I had made my mind up I wasn't going to, this would be the last class I was going to go to with him. And so meanwhile, on that same night, the leader of the LA group was talking to this master about giving Master Sheng a treatment. And so, because he was a very, very famous master. So she was talking to him. And then at the end, she said, hey, you wouldn't happen to know a Western attorney, would you? And he goes, yes, one's coming in 10 minutes if you want to wait for him. She goes, what? He goes, yeah, one of my students is an attorney, a Westerner. And she goes, this is very strange. So she sat down and she was waiting for me. And so I came into his house, and she was sitting there with her palms on her knees, just just there. And then when I came in, obviously I was the only Westerner showing up. So she came up very quickly to me and she says, I represent Master Sheng. And I go, yes. She goes, yes, what? Yes, I know him. You know Master Sheng? I go, yes, I was at his lecture last night. And she goes, and I was wondering if you could help us. I go, yes, I've already agreed. I'm going to follow him. She goes, what? Like, what are you talking about? I already agreed. I will help you. Whatever he needs, I will help him. She goes, I don't understand this at all. And so she was scratching her head, but she was so happy, you know. So then she left, and then she went to see Master Sheng. And so when she went to see Master Sheng, she said, I found him. She goes, you found who? The Western attorney you were looking for. And he goes, you know, he and his wife were at your lecture last night. And he said, yes, I know. His practice is very good. She goes, what? And she's going, what are you talking about? And she said, I didn't even tell you where they sat. And he just smiled at her, you know. And that's how I came to know Master Sheng, was in this way that it says that it is the master that looks for the student. And in this case, it was the student and the master looking for each other. And that brought us together. And later on, I asked Shifu, who were those 2 seats for? And he remembered it. And he just smiled and he said, those were VIP seats. And so for that night, I was a VIP. And but anyway, that's how I came to know Master Sheng. It was a very incredible sequence of events that we had this affinity to be connected in this way. So it's very amazing. When I went to my first retreat, he pulled me out of the retreat to have a business meeting. And this was on a Thursday. And the people were saying, he's in the retreat. How can you bring him out here to talk? You know, like you're violating the rules of the retreat. And he said, I've observed his single-minded purpose. It's very good. It won't harm him at all. And so then one of the monks was talking about some of the business we had to attend to. And I said to the monk, I said, you know, you should have been an attorney. And Master Sheng didn't miss a beat. And he pointed his finger and said, and you should have been a monk. And so, which is true. I should have been a monk. I missed the bus on that really early in my life. But it was actually very, very true. I should have been a monk. I've got the hair for it now, but I'm missing the robe and the bowl, I guess. So they stopped giving those out a few hundred years ago. So anyway, that's the story. That's the short version of it. There's much more to it, but in any case, I think it's something that if you haven't heard that story before, it's kind of an interesting one, just simply because of the affinity between me and him. And you'll probably hear it again if you somewhere along the line. I think I have to present that in some lecture in LA and in January or February, and they're going to be videoing it for Shifu's archives. So anyway, that's any questions? No questions? Going. I'm checking my. Nothing else? All right. Well, then that's it for.
Oh, shoot.
That's it? Okay.
Yeah, so I think the information from Sue, it's been shared. Jane and Sue also Yunsai, all of them have shared that information.
Great.
So it's in the chat. Please find it in the chat.
Yeah, so I hope you check it out and do it. It's a worthy cause. I mean, we always say it's a worthy cause, you know, for things, but it's something that is very interesting. The first time I went to give a retreat over there, we were all huddled in this one converted mobile home kind of a structure, which served as the kitchen, the dormitory, and the Chan hall. And I told Sue, you know, you need to have a real Chan hall. And then within 90 days, she actually built one. And then I told her afterwards, you need a bigger Chan hall. And therein started the whole process of the causes and conditions coming forth to have this new Chan hall built that's more than twice as big as the other one. And if you ever get a chance to go there, or if you want to do a solitary retreat, this is a shameless plug for her. She has, I guess it's called bed and breakfast place there that they have vacation or do a solitary retreat, but you'll feel so guilty being there because it's so darn good. It's so beautiful up there. So anyway, so that's it. So thank you. We'll continue on next week. We'll hold your questions and we'll keep doing this. So these classes are going to be classes for practice. Okay, have a very, very good holidays, you know, and be grateful for your ability to study the Dharma and be patient.